Hey there, entrepreneur. Welcome back to another fascinating episode of Fascinating Founders. I'm your host, Nicole Holland, and I'm thrilled to be your guide as we dive in and uncover the stories that came before the success of some of the world's most fascinating founders. Hailing from a multitude of industries and socioeconomic starts, you're going to learn what's made these fascinating men and women realize their dreams, from an inspired idea to millions in revenue, disrupting, innovating, and impacting humanity for the better. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Podcasting Goldmine. Are you reaching and converting your ideal buyers through podcasts yet? You'd better believe that your competition is. The podcast industry is exploding right now, with billions of dollars being poured into it and well over 1 million active podcasts in the directories. In just the past 90 days alone, hundreds of thousands of new podcasts have been added, and the industry will continue to grow whether or not you're a part of it. Your market, my friend, is listening to podcasts, and I would love to personally help you design a strategic podcast marketing plan to help your company scale and reach your business growth goals through podcasts. From getting you featured as the expert guest on premium podcasts that your ideal buyers are already listening to designing and launching a profitable podcast for your company, to show sponsorship and advertising, podcasting for business growth is totally my jam. If you're ready to take a serious look at how you can effectively leverage podcasts for business growth, visit podcastinggoldmine.com and request a complimentary consultation for us to explore how we can make podcasts work for you. Again, that URL is podcastinggoldmine.com. Now, you never know what we're going to get into on an episode of Fascinating Founders. So get your notebook ready, cozy up with a great cup of joe, and let's dive into another inspiring journey with today's guest. While some people hack computers, my guest today hacks humans. Susan Ibitz is a human behavior hacker with over 28 years of experience applying behavior hacking to sales, communication, negotiation, and everyday life. She delivers training and consults on human behavior, micro-expression, body language, deceptive detection, statement analysis, face reading, and personality types, and has worked in a multitude of fields, including political campaigns, law enforcement, real estate, market research, insurance fraud, matchmakers, and more. And honestly, I can't even express how excited I am to introduce you to her and to dig into her journey. It's fascinating, and although we'll only get a little snip in today's episode, I really hope that you take so much away from this and that you explore what Susan does more after the interview. So Susan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Nicole, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So in addition to being self-proclaimed behavior hacker, you have also been called a human polygraph, I believe. And
oh my God, that has been bring so much controversy because people says, well, polygraph is not legal on the court. I'm like, it's a joke. It's not that polygraph is a stress detector. Just people is giving me names because apparently I'm good in what I do. So like, take it easy. Yeah. I think it's funny to be called a human polygraph, but that's what I do too. Deception detection a lot.
Yeah. And I love it. And something just about my journey is, and I don't talk about this very often, and it's not something I ever really pursued, but it was just in my mind. I always thought it would be fascinating to do FBI or counterintelligence and things like this. And at an early age, I actually did look into doing that. And then I didn't have the attention span, or for whatever reason, I didn't have the passion, but it's something that never stopped fascinating me. And, I did work in law enforcement for a short time in my journey. And when I started hearing you talk on other podcasts and on your own things, I was just like, so cool. So let's talk about this stuff. Can you share with us from the early days when you were very young, kind of where you wanted to go in your life, what you saw for your future?
I always wanted to be the new Robert wrestler. He was the show on Netflix, Manhunt, and it's based on him. Is the man who interviewed every serial killer in the world. He had the chance to just happen in a time that he interviewed Manson, the guy who tried to kill Reagan, and he interviewed everyone, Ted Bundy, all of them, and he created the VIA unit on the FBI. And I grow on that environment in my house. My dad was a diplomat and an artist, so we was really unconventional and everything. And I always says, I become who I am because my parents teach me quality time, no quantity time. So my quality time was when my dad, watching Columbo and The Godfather and reading Nietzsche at the age of 6 years old. So probably if I was raised in the United States, social services wouldn't take me away. But thank God, I got damaged, but not so bad. But I always dreamed to be a profiler. I want to read people's mind. And I didn't have a second plan. I was so passionate about that's what I'm going to be. I want to be the badass women on the FBI. I want to be remembered for being the best profiler. And my dreams got crashed when I found out that I'm highly dyslexic, and the accreditation that I would need today FBI, because the FBI 50 years ago was different. And the accreditation today is not going to happen. And I was like, now what? I didn't have a second plan. And that's one of the things that I say when I teach in the university or do a keynote speaking with kids who are looking to what they do with their life. And always have a second plan. Because the amount of time and effort and emotional investment and how many derail, because when you're 18 and your dreams are crushed, you'll derail like every other teenager. Was devastating. It was really devastating until my dad says, okay, you man up, you stop crying and wasting your time. Let's talk. It's another way to do it. It's always another way to do it. He was a diplomat without going to the university because he was an artist and he was promoting culture. He was appointed as a diplomat and says, if I did it without studies, why you not? So I start my journey going around the world, speaking and knowing everyone who knows about this, taking jobs in places that I went to study. I went to Europe, Latin America, Mexico, United States, until finally land here. But I went to Manchester to study with Ekman International, and I study hostage negotiation. I study interrogation with people from the military. So I didn't have the chance to be in, but have the chance to study with. And that's what. So it's about the journey that you decide to do. But I always says never had only one plan, because you never know how life is going to turn. Like what happened now. Most people doesn't have a plan.
For sure. So can we dig into this a little bit? I'd love to talk about, when your father said to you, hey, man up, or, you got to find a way to get to Italy. Is that what it was? Or
Yeah, you have too many ways to go to Italy. Some people fly, some people take the train and look like you're going to be swimming. So learn to float so you don't drown. And like at the beginning, I didn't understand the analogy. Like that, I know how to swim. And he slapped me on the back of the neck. Like it was funny, but he never actually slapped me. Like, hey, get in your head. It's an analogy, meaning that you're going to get where you want to get. It's just going to take longer.
Yeah. And this is something I think in having interviewed so many, hundreds of founders, I find that it's something that we tend to either have or not have an awareness of. And I think for some people, it's just innate. And then some people, they're introduced to it and they go, okay, I don't understand, but let me follow this path. And then they get it. And so that's one of the things, for listeners who are wanting to stand on the shoulders of giants and to say, okay, this is what I want. I want to build an enterprise. I want to have a legacy. I want to do something that impacts the world in a really powerful way. And how do I learn from the people who are doing things and inspiring me about what they've done? And so I think this is a key point here, that you are able to recognize what your dream was and find other ways when you were met with the resistance that, hey, it's not going to happen this way. You didn't allow it with the push of your father. Maybe it would have also been the same without the push of your father, who knows? But you didn't allow that to then define who you were going to be in the future. So when you had this teaching from your dad, can you talk about how you recognized, hey, I can go and learn under this person. I'm going to find the best people in the world doing what I want to do. And I'm going to get their attention and I'm going to learn under them. Can you talk a little bit about what that transition was like?
I pivot. That's what I did. And and I think it has to do with the concept of quality, no quantity. And it's funny because everybody get impressed like, oh, how many certification you have? Not enough. I'm doing 3 more this year, and next year I'm going to start learning Arabic. So wait for it. My grandmother lived until 100. I'm only 48, so I have 52 more years to piss people off and learning something new. I'm never going to retire. But I think was pivoting, and instead to, and it's something that I fought a lot when I start doing a column, and like, who is the quality of the people who's mentoring you? And what is the quality of people you're learning from? Now everybody calls themselves a coach. Everybody knows about human behavior, face reading, and micro-expression. When 4 months ago, you talked to them and they didn't have any idea what they're talking about. So it has to do with the quality of the person who's teaching you, who is mentoring you, and who is putting ideas and knowledge in your teams in your company, because can be really, really dangerous. It's like giving to a veterinary make brain surgery in your son. It's the same. It's in the doctor field, but in animals, the brain is not the same. So I fought really hard to look who were their best. As I said, the only person that I couldn't study, he died in 2011, and I wasn't mature enough at that point to approach him. He was retired. I tried to get a hold of him. They told me like, no, he's not going to take it. But all the other ones, I've been taught by people who already were retired, and I stalk people. I always say it. I stalked Lena Cisco for 2 years until one point says, okay, we have 2 options. Or I call the police on you, or I start training you so you shut up, because I was sending an email every 15 days. And today I have 6 personal coaches that are mentoring me on my job, on business and marketing, on mindset, how to be a better manager. For many years, I was a solo person, because when I was doing political campaign, you need to be a wolf, solo wolf. You don't go in a pack. You need to be under the radar. Nobody needs to know about you. That's the reason they hire you. Years later, I have an accident. I ended up in the wheelchair. I need to learn to walk again. I take a 4-year leap in my career. And when I come back and say like, I do miss politics, but I want to do something else. And that's when like, oops, I'm going to need to be a boss. I need to hire a team. How would you do that? And in the beginning, I was treating the people more like a friend, a coworker, not a boss. So I made a lot of mistakes on the process of hiring. So at one point it says, I keep putting money but not seeing results. I'm working on the weekends and the people who should be working is having parties. So I start getting introduced. I ask for help. Most people is afraid to ask for help. I'm still after 28 years of career. I sometimes talk to some of my teachers, then I have the luxury to call them friends. We even go on vacations together with some of them. And we work together in some project, and like, I think I'm out of pace on this case, or I cannot get through this person. Can you help me? And I part of groups that we met every other week with people that I study and the teacher that I study, and we do Zoom meetings. We have been doing it for years before this become daily. And they still say, Susan, you can do better. No, it's not. You're missing the pivot. It's not the way you need to put attention. That wrinkle doesn't mean that. What is meant? Come on, you know that. And the same way I do that with another. I'm mentoring people only on Sundays. Why? Because I was trained by, my first mentee was, my mentor was Israeli. And he says, you want to, you need to win it. Show me you're worth my time and my training. And says, we're gonna be training Sundays at 4 p.m. And like, why? Because if you really want to become good, you're gonna sacrifice your Sunday. And he was right. So I'm doing the same. Some people say I'm kind of harsh as a trainer or as a mentor, but believe me, you're going to get good in what you do. But I still need to ask for help. And I have an amazing person who is my sales trainer. He's explained to me, you are the best iceberg hiding on the world. What do you mean? You're really good, but nobody now knows about it. What is the word to know? Nobody knows what you do. People need to know what you do so you get work. And like, so I need to put my face like, yeah, get out there. Talk about what you do. Stop having the imposter syndrome because you have an accent, because you're dyslexic, because you're Jewish, because you're woman, because you were born in Latin America. Oh my God. If you start piling everything that you think you're not good enough, you're never going to be good enough. And you are. Other people is saying that you're good. Stop with imposter syndrome. Go out there. And another coach and business-wise, and like, okay, when I hire people, what I need to ask. I'm a profiler. I know what to profile people, but not how to hire an employee, how I train them, how I can be the boss without torturing people. I have a type A personality, and I scare some of the people that I work with. And I need to talk like, you don't need to be afraid of me because it's paralyzing you. So I went back to my mentor and like, what I'm doing wrong is this, you're so used to working politician with police, with hostage negotiators that you have this personality where you're too direct. People is more sensitive. It's not their job to adapt to you. You need to adapt to them. And that's what my shift changed. And I start training people to do the same. When I talk to the managers, says their job is not to figure out you. You need to figure out them. And that's what I do that. And my team, I have people who have been 5 years, 3 years. Nobody have quit since I did the mind shift. But why? Because I ask for help. I recognize that I don't have all the answers. I recognize they made mistakes. And every time that I have a meeting or have a problem with one of the people on the team, I call them after and says, what could I have done better? I ask my right hand, the CEO of the Latin American office, which she's always on the calls when we have a problem, says, Elba, what do you think I could have done better? Do you think the way I communicate, the way I express the problem, the solution I give was good? It's something that I need to learn. And she always laughed at me like, why are you asking me? You're my boss. Like, but I trust you to tell me how I can become better. So the day you think you know everything and you don't need to ask for help, you're committing career suicide.
Amazing. And I would love it if you can kind of go into briefly, what is it that you're looking for when you ask those questions? And the reason, to preface why I'm asking this, is what I have found is oftentimes people ask things, they ask for help, or they ask for feedback without understanding the reason they're asking or the goal of what they want. And I think this is something that's so key that is missed by most people. Because when we say, what could I have done better? What could have, a lot of times people are filtering that data and that information, those subjective opinions, in a way that doesn't necessarily serve them to move forward. And so if you can go into how this has been powerful for you and why, I would really love to hear about that.
2 things I'm going to say that. First, most people look for people who only going to tell you you're amazing. No, don't ask your mom, don't ask your dad, don't ask your partner, your best friend. Nope. One of the worst advice to take me to the right path in my life was faking until you make it. And I remember telling that person that in one point I choose a mentor, and I find out like, this dude doesn't have any idea how this is done. And says, what, I'm faking it? And he was like, what do you mean? Like, I need to know what I fake in order to do it. If I want to make a cake, I need to know the ingredients. I want to make a barbecue. It's a different approach. So what, I'm faking it? And he's like, well, you're going to figure it out. Like, no, you don't have time to figure it out. So that's when I choose another mentor. And that what he says, first of all, the 5 people in your personal life and your business life near to you that you talk at least once a week are the people who define you. So need to be people who knows more than you know. They need to be feisty. They need to be disruptors. They need to criticize you and give you feedback, and you need to shut up and take it. And if you don't agree, get mad with yourself. Know your mentor. You can ask why their perception. You can define your position, but you're going to shut up and take it. And when you analyze what they tell you. You'll go back and ask for more. Don't get mad, but do not ask for people who's gonna tell you that you do everything right. So mentoring the people you have in your life. If you get stuck on life, start looking for the people around you. And you're going to find either all of them are stuck. So you start feeling comfortable being stuck because you justify, because everybody's crazy, you're okay. Everybody's is fat, or everybody is using glasses, so you're comfortable. How you hide an elephant between elephants. I want to be a tiger and a jungle who I have all the animals. I want to be on the zoo. I always call it my little zoo team. Why? Because we're so different. I start hiring people who is so opposite than I am. And one thing I love is every time that we start a meeting, that is funny because we're all women working from home all around the world. Most of them is stay-home mom who never give them the options because they have kids, and they're embraced. They're become these amazing people that everybody was like, oh, you're a wife, and I'm mom, you're nobody. And now they're core of the company. And our meetings are Thursday night with a glass of wine, and we have 4 hours brainstorm. And the first thing is like, okay, who have ideas, who are against the ideas that I have? If you tell me, everybody told me it's okay, we cancel the meeting, and the next one is going to be 2 o'clock in the morning. So everybody fight ideas, bring ideas, and it's disrupted. And for people who just come new to the company, it's like, oh my God, this is a bag of cats. Are you crazy? But after 3 or 4 weeks, I'm like, I love it. Because one of the things that I'm proud of myself, I would say, from all the things that I've done as a boss, and I'm a horrible boss. Actually, I hired somebody to be my boss 2 weeks ago. I love it. It's her problem to talk to people. She's my boss. She says, what I need to do, Mary, what I need to do, like, no, tell me what I need to do this week. I love it. It's the first time I have a boss. Is to bring ideas, is allow people to flourish. I push people to be the best. And not in a bad way. What I ask in my job interviews, and like, okay, your paper looked good. First of all, I want to see your face because I can read you. Second of all, what do you want to be? And nobody give you the chance to be. And people is like, it's not supposed to be a job. Yeah, but I want to know what you want. That's the reason a person that I hired 3 years ago, she never, ever even knew what this is about. And after a year, she says, I want to start training as a profiler. Like, are you sure? Like, yeah, I'm ready. And I make her ask me more than one time until one point says, I want it to be, and I'm going to be a profiler. And says, okay, you're ready. Now she's the CEO, my business partner, and the chief trainer from Latin America. Because for 2 years, she trained beside the working the hours that she worked, raising 2 kids under the age of 2 years old. And now she's amazing. When I have a doubt about something, I talk to her. And she was studied hotel management, and she is dyslexic too. And it was still like, well, you're married, you have kids, good for you. Now you have a husband who's going to take care of you. And now she's the alpha on the family. She's the one who can profile everyone, and she's amazing. Why? Because I asked her during the interview, what do you want? And she says, I always wanted to do something special. I have this second brain that it kind of happened in my gut. And I have this sensing that I can see or know when people lie to me, but I don't understand what it is. He says, well, what do you want to be? I want to show my daughters, because she have 2 daughters, then you can do it. You can be everything. And today she become that person. If I wouldn't ask that on the job interview, I wouldn't have such an amazing partner working. And today is like, I have so much fun working with her. And she's the person that I call Elle and says, Elle, what I can do better. And she's one of my biggest critics, and says, Susan, you were completely off in that interview and that training. You can have done better. What is wrong with you? I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Susan, you are amazing. And I'm just looking at the clock, and we've got to wrap up. And so with that, I want to make sure that you share your final words of wisdom, a way for people to connect with you. But I also want to say that you've got to come back. I'm going to have you on the Nicole Holland show so we can dig more into this and continue the conversation, because you're amazing and your story is amazing and who you are and how you be is inspiring. And I cannot wait to dive in further. So for now, for our listeners who want to follow up and connect with you and get more value from you, where do you want them to go? What do you want them to do?
Definitely the next one, we need to talk about hermits and having the cats on the scene. Let the cats running free. Wisdom, I never says wisdom because I don't think I learned everything yet. And I think would be hypocrite because I have so much to learn. And I learned from the guy who delivered my boxes, from the guy on the line on the supermarket. That is my wisdom. Everybody's an expert in something that you are not. So listen to people, even though you think has nothing to do. The best anecdote, I had it from people that I didn't know where they are. I asked questions. 80%, 20, talking. 2 years and a mouth. Ask questions. A kid asks 409 questions a day. We lost that. That's my wisdom to you. Ask questions. Everybody knows something more than you know. That's the way you grow, learning. Second, if people want to connect, they can go to humanbehaviorlab.com. That is our consulting company and our e-learning platform that is only specialized in human behavior. You're not going to find anything else. It's Human Behavior Hacker School. And the reason that was born 6 months ago is because I couldn't divide myself anymore. So I couldn't be in China and in India training at the same time. So I start putting, and I decided I don't want to be myself giving classes. I want to create a community of people who train and teach human behavior. That's how I found out. If it's not, Google me. I reply to all my messages on LinkedIn and Facebook. That's how we connect.
It is indeed. Thank you so much for your time today. And there you have it. Thanks again for tuning in. I do realize that there are about a million other things you could have been doing over the past half hour, and the fact that you chose to spend it listening to this podcast means the world to me. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway from today's episode was, so feel free to send it on social, tagging me at the Nicole Holland on Facebook or Instagram, or send me a message from my website, fascinatingfounders.com. You'll also find show notes with the transcript from this and all other past and future podcast episodes on the website. That URL once more is fascinatingfounders.com. Thanks to my podcasting goldmine team for the production of today's episode, and a special shout out to Effie Ceruti for composing the intro and outro music for this season. If you're looking for custom composed music for your own podcast or any other aspect of strategy, design, or production for your existing or new podcast, the Podcasting Goldmine team can help. Give us a ring at 218-GET-SEEN or contact us through the website for a custom quote. And once again, if you are ready to explore effectively leveraging podcasts for business growth, visit podcastinggoldmine.com and request a complimentary consultation to explore making podcasts work for you. Again, that URL is podcastinggoldmine.com. Coming up on Fascinating Founders, I'm excited to introduce you to more fascinating men and women who've taken their inspired idea and against all odds have grown it into a multi-million or billion-dollar enterprise. Until next time, this is Nicole Holland signing off.